Okay, council, are there any pretrial matters before we proceed with opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we begin with documents for pretrial, may I make appearances before the record? For the
Please.
record? Hi, my name is Jaleesa Harris, and along with my co-counsel, Will Rogers,
Good morning, or good afternoon, Your
Afternoon.
Dylan Ballback,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
we represent the state of Maryland. I have a few documents to tender to the bench. They are the Millen's Rules of Evidence, the Bill of Particulars, stipulations, case law, special instructions, the jury instructions, the Millen's Penal Code, and the indictment. May I approach opposing counsel and then tender to the bench?
You may. I assume you haven't seen these yet.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any objections to these being tendered, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. Seeing as though it is the first time in your courtroom, we'd ask ask for permission to move about the well freely.
You can move about the well, but if you would like to approach the witness or approach the jury or the bench, just ask and state that on the record.
Yes, Your Honor. And at this time, we would like to invoke Rule 615, the constructive sequestration of all witnesses, except for a party representative. Our party representative today will be Officer Mickey Keenan.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. According to the stipulations, an undercover officer, Mickey Keenan, is not permitted to act as the state's party representative.
Do you have a response to that?
And Your Honor, I do not believe that is in the stipulations. If you can refer me to what number that you were referring to?
Counsel?
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Counsel, I'm not seeing it.
I believe it's in another of the pre-trial documents, Your Honor. Perhaps the special instructions Rule 3.
Mickey Keenan, isn't that?
We reject our, we withdraw our objection.
Okay. She is designated as the party representative.
Yes, Your Honor. And with that, we are ready to proceed to opening statements.
Okay. Anything from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I would like to introduce my team.
Please.
Well, good evening. My name is Alexander Singleton. Together with my co-counsel, Jennifer Elfakir,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
and co-counsel, Alex De La Garza.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon.
We will be representing the defendant, Ms. Avery Bancroft, in today's case. Your Honor, we also have two pretrial documents that we would like to tender to the bench. One of them is a notice of intent to offer character evidence, and the other is an order granting the motion to exclude wiretap evidence.
And counsel, for the prosecution, are you familiar with these documents?
Yes, I am.
And do you have any objection to being tendered to the bench?
No objections, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll receive. Anything else before we begin?
No, Your Honor.
Then let's proceed with opening statements.
Yes, Your Honor.
Dylan Ballback for the prosecution. May it please the court? Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, she just kept going until she committed bribery. On October 1st, 2014, the Midlands Gambling Commission made available a license for a new casino in Midlands. And this began a 7.5-month process during which each candidate pitched their proposal to the commission in hopes that their bid would be selected. In the end, it was the defendant, Ms. Avery Bancroft, who already owned the Black Bear Casino in Midlands, who won that bid due to a vote made by the Gambling Commission chair. And as you listen to the evidence in today's case, it may not be exactly what you would think. That's because the defendant has already admitted to bribing that gambling chair $200,000 in exchange for the chair's vote. And you may be asking yourself, why are you here today if the defendant's already admitted to the bribery? That's because this has now become a matter of blame. So the defendant is now claiming that undercover officer Mickey Keenan induced her into committing bribery, that Officer Keenan took away her free will and right to choose. But as you listen to the evidence in today's case, it'll become apparent that the defendant had many opportunities to stop this bribe, but she just kept going. She chose to bribe a government official. As the prosecution in today's case, we bear a burden of proof. We have to prove predisposition to you beyond a reasonable doubt, which simply means we must prove beyond any doubt based on common sense or reason that the defendant made this bribe through her own free will. The defense in today's case also has a burden of proof. And they must prove to you entrapment by preponderance of the evidence, which means they must prove that it was more likely than not that Officer Keenan entrapped the defendant into committing that bribe. Now, after opposing counsel gives their opening statement, you'll be hearing from Officer Keenan herself. And she'll come before you and detail the highlights of her investigation. She'll come before you and talk to you about what she saw at her time at the Midlands Gambling Commission going undercover. And she'll tell you how she began investigating the defendant and what she saw in the meetings that she was a part of with the witness. And then you'll hear from Dr. F. Reese Warren, who is a linguist. He'll tell you about the best practices that he analyzed through her that Officer Keenan followed. He'll tell you that the defendant had every opportunity to get out of this bribe, but she chose to just keep going. You'll then hear finally from Devin Del Sesto, who's a bellhop at the defendant's casino, the Black Bear. And she'll tell you about a conversation that she heard between the defendant and the commission chair on February 16th. And during this conversation, the defendant said, "If you're for sale, I'm willing to pay whatever it takes. I just want this to get sorted out." At the end of trial, my co-counsel, Jaleesa Harris, will come before you and ask that you find the defendant guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Counsel for the defense.
Permission to proceed, Your Honor. May it please the court, opposing counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Overeager and undertrained makes for a dangerous combination. In 2013, the Midlands Police Department had a new chief of police, Frank Kimball. He boldly claimed that the Midlands Police Department would now be following a different direction. The Midlands Police Department was now going to be focused on being newsworthy. The Midlands Police Department was going to do whatever it takes to make arrests happen. This sort of environment was the ideal climate for an overeager and an undertrained cop to take advantage of. This undertrained and overeager cop is named Mickey Keenan. What the state won't tell you is that Mickey Keenan was not specially trained to become an undercover cop. She was in fact just a regular cop who got put into the undercover police department for the sole reason that she didn't have any family or friends in Midlands. In addition to this, she improperly enlisted the aid of an amateur informant. This informant was named Hyde, which is the assistant of Miss Avery Bancroft. He received no authorization from the district attorney to turn him into an informant. Now, the defense is pursuing entrapment. In order to do this, we need to prove to you that it's more likely than not that an undertrained, an overeager undercover officer and an amateur informant used improper policing tactics in order to forcibly entrap Miss Avery Bancroft. In addition to this, we will prove to you that it's more likely than not that Miss Bancroft had no intention of engaging in criminal activity and no predisposition to do so. Now, in order to prove that Mickey Keenan used improper police tactics, we will call an expert witness, Dr. Lorien. Dr. Lorien is an expert in the best practices of undercover policing. He will tell you that Mickey Keenan and Hyde used improper tactics such as scripting conversations in order to forcibly entrap Miss Bancroft. In order to prove to you that Miss Bancroft was not predisposed to do this, we will highlight her background. What the state won't tell you is that Miss Bancroft is a successful entrepreneur and a creator of hundreds of jobs here in Midlands. She does this through the wildly successful Black Bear Casino. Miss Bancroft was manipulated in business meetings when she tried to open a second casino. In these business meetings, she was aggressively cornered and manipulated to believe that the only way that Midlands could receive the economic benefits of a second casino was if, in comparison to the profits it would generate, she would have to pay a relatively small bribe to one gambling official. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the truth is, Miss Bancroft was not predisposed to bribery. She's already an extraordinarily wealthy and successful official. She doesn't need to succeed any more than she does now. In addition to that, at every turn, she was surrounded by undercover agents who wanted nothing more than to make the news, who wanted nothing more than to make an arrest happen and to do whatever it takes to do so. We trust that you will side with the defendant. No further. I rest my case.
Thank you. Just give us a moment with the spreadsheets. And